foreigners aren't allowed to buy land at all. Buying a house is a shortcut to living here. Both ideas are wrong. So can foreigners buy land in Japan? It is a question that comes up constantly. You hear it from people who are thinking about moving here more and more now that the yen is so low, and it's showing up more in political debates inside Japan. I'm Jeff Richards, and this is Japan Today Spotlight. This week, let's look at the reality of foreign property ownership in Japan. Can foreigners actually buy land here? The short answer is yes. In many countries, foreigners face real restrictions on buying land. Japan is different. Foreign nationals can legally buy land, houses, and apartments in Japan. They don't need to be citizens. They don't even need to live here. And that surprises a lot of people. Foreign buyers are treated exactly the same as Japanese citizens. But that equal treatment comes with a catch, and that's where people start getting confused. In Japan, and I'm sure in a lot of other places, the building and the land are legally separate assets. The difference between owning a building and owning the land underneath it. Buy a detached house, and you'll usually own both the house and the land that it sits on. But there are exceptions. Some homes are built on leased land. The buyer owns the building, but pays rent to the landowner. That system is known as shakuchi. Condominiums work differently. Buy a condo unit, and you do own the apartment itself, plus a shared portion of the land beneath the building with the other owners. How property in Japan actually works. Another reason this question comes up so often, Japan's growing number of empty houses. Those vacant homes are known as akiya. According to a government report released in 2024, Japan had more than 9 million unoccupied homes. That's around 14% of all residential properties in the country. Some towns have set up programs to sell these houses cheaply, trying to attract new residents and get some people back through the door. Online, that's created a pretty popular idea. Buy a cheap house in rural Japan, pack up, and move there. But it's not that simple. A foreigner might be able to buy the property. That still doesn't solve the visa problem. Owning property and having the right to live in Japan are two completely different things. Buy a house here, and you don't automatically get a visa. You don't get residency rights either. Someone could own a house in Tokyo or a vacation home in Hokkaido and still only be allowed into Japan as a tourist. Buying property doesn't open that immigration door. A lot of people get this simple fact wrong. From April this year, non-resident foreign buyers, meaning anyone based outside of Japan, are required to file a report with the government within 20 days of completing any property purchase, including residential homes. If you're already living here on a valid visa, this really doesn't apply to you. It's a requirement under Japan's foreign exchange laws, not a restriction on purchasing. This is a separate requirement from the reporting rules announced by the government in December. In December last year, Finance Minister Satsuki Katayama announced new reporting rules for foreign property buyers. Under the expanded requirement, foreigners must now file a report when buying property for any purpose, including residential. Before that, the rule only applied to investment purchases. She put it plainly, we need to grasp the whole picture, as we're seeing cases where residential property is bought by foreigners for speculative purposes. On the same day, Justice Minister Hiroshi Hiraguchi announced that property buyers, Japanese and foreign alike, will have to declare their nationality when registering real estate. That took effect on April 1st. And back in early March, a panel of government experts met to examine tighter restrictions on foreign land purchases. That legislation is expected to follow later this year. The political direction is clear, but the numbers are worth keeping in mind. Even in Tokyo, overseas buyers accounted for around 3.5% of new condominium purchases in the first half of 2025. Why is this even important right now? In recent years, concern has been growing here in Japan about foreign ownership of land. Supporters of tighter controls say Japan needs stronger protections. But Hiro Ichikawa, a professor emeritus of urban planning at Meiji University in Tokyo, says the concern is more specific than the headlines suggest. The real worry, he says, is foreign nationals buying land near military bases, not broad residential or rural purchases. In 2021, the government passed a law aimed at monitoring how land near sensitive locations is used. It came into force in 2022. Land near military bases, both Japanese Self-Defense Force and U.S. installations. Also, nuclear power plants and remote border islands. Now, the law doesn't ban foreigners from buying land, and it doesn't single them out either. This applies to everyone, Japanese and foreign buyers alike. What it does do is give the government the power to investigate and regulate how land in those designated areas is actually being used. A lot of the political conversation about foreign buyers is really about China. Some politicians here have raised concerns about Chinese investors buying land in rural areas or indeed near the strategic facilities we mentioned. The numbers put it in perspective. A government survey found that in fiscal year 2024, around 3,500 properties near sensitive sites were purchased by foreign individuals or organizations. That's about 3% of all transactions in those zones. Nearly half of those purchases were linked to Chinese buyers. So what can foreign buyers actually do? I asked Jun Yamamoto, a Tokyo-based professional with Real Estate Japan, about what foreign buyers most often get wrong. Here's what he told me.
I get a lot of questions from foreign buyers about this question, whether they can get a visa or not if they purchase a property in Japan. The short answer is no. You can own the property, but your visa status won't change. You have to go through immigration bureau to get the proper visa, of course, and you have to get the documentations for that. The contract process of buying the property in Japan is all done in Japanese normally. The real estate agents can prepare the documentation in English memorandum, but by Japanese law, you still have to sign the Japanese contract when you purchase the property in Japan.
So there are a couple of points worth highlighting there. Foreigners can buy property in Japan as individuals or through companies, vacation homes, investment properties, apartments, condominiums, or rural akiya. Real estate contracts in Japan are in Japanese. Even if you get a translation of the contract, the Japanese version is the one that counts legally. Once the purchase is complete, foreign owners generally have the same property rights as any Japanese owner. Mortgages aren't impossible, but without permanent residency or an established work history here, your options are limited and the terms can be tough. One more thing worth knowing, some condominium buildings won't sell to non-Japanese residents. It's getting less common, but it still happens. Buying property in Japan still isn't going to give anyone the right to live here. That hasn't changed. How Japan manages foreign ownership, though, that's already happening. From the Japan Today newsroom in Tokyo, I'm Jeff Richards. See me next time.